Okay, so the goal for the last chapter, chapter 3, was to be able to graph things without doing XY charts, okay? So the goal of this graph is to be able to use a polynomial function, figure out where the roots are, and then start being able to fill in the blanks in between in order to graph that function, okay? So today we're going to talk about the rational root theorem. And so it's a shorter lesson, but there are quite a few problems. So I'm not sure how many parts this is going to be. So what the rational root theorem says, if we let that big long sentence represent a polynomial, so just recognize this could be like 2n to the 5th plus 4n to the 3rd all the way down to like 7x, sorry, I said n, let's try that again. How about 2x to the 4th and 7x to the 3rd all the way down to like 1x plus 7. That's what that's talking about, just using fancy letters. It's saying if that's a polynomial equation of n degree, meaning n is the highest exponent, and then it says with integral coefficients. So anytime you see the word integral, think integer. So it's saying no fractions, no decimals. That if a rational number p over q, where p and q have no common factors, is a root of the equation, then p is a factor of the last constant term, and q is a factor of the first coefficient. So the way we're going to take this from the book is we're going to let a polynomial be called p of x, like a polynomial in terms of x, and it's going to have a leading coefficient of a sub n and a constant term of a sub 0. So that means that if I want p over q to be a rational root of the polynomial, then p is a factor of the constant and q is the factor of the leading coefficient. So if we take a look at this first example, it says list all possible rational roots and then determine the rational roots. So the first thing it says, all possible rational roots. Okay, and then the last thing it says is determine just the rational roots. It doesn't say every single root possible, just the roots that are rational. So those are the things that I want you to focus on. Ooh, that got a little shiny. Okay, so recognize that my leading coefficient that we'll call a sub n is equal to 3, and that my constant we'll call a sub 0 is equal to 8. So that means that q are, the list for q is going to be all the factors of 3, and the list for p is going to be all the factors of 8. So the numbers that I can multiply to get 3 are 1 and 3. But remember, we're talking about integers or rational numbers, so we could have negatives as well. So recognize it's plus or minus 1 and plus or minus 3. Now to multiply to get 8, we could do 1 times 8, and we could also do 2 times 4. But again, when we're talking about rational numbers, we could have plus or minus. So now let's remind ourselves, what does it mean to be rational? So within the word rational, we have the word ratio. So when we talk about p over q being a rational number, we're saying that p is an integer and q is an integer. And so their ratio represents a rational number, okay? So all possible p over q's, and this is where I think about like going to a dance where a boy has to dance with a girl or whatever you want to name them. So each of these people need to dance with each of these people, okay? So if we start with the 1, do you see that the 1 could dance with the 1? 1 over 1 is just 1. Or the 1 could dance with 3, and we get 1/3. Remember, the p has to be on top. Then I can move over to the 2. So the 2 could dance with the 1, and 2 over 1 is just 2. Or the 2 could dance with the 3. Okay? Then my next opportunity is 4, so I could have 4 over 1, which is 4, or I could have 4 over 3. And then the next one is going to be 8 over 1, or just 8. Sorry, I don't know why I wrote that. And then I could have 8 over 3. Now, if you don't have any repeats, the number of items you should have here is this number of items times this number of items. So notice 4 times 2 is 8, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 terms. That's how you know you did it right. But sometimes we'll have less because if we have repeats, we don't want to repeat writing down that stuff, okay? So we have done the part where it says all possible. This is my list of all possible rational roots. So then the next thing it asked us to do is to actually go and find the rational roots. And so I'm going to pick a number, and it doesn't matter what number I pick. So I'm going to go ahead and try the number 1. And then I've got to come up here and double check, are my exponents in perfect descending order? So I've got 3 and then 2 and then 1 and then nothing. So they are in perfect descending order. So I'm going to write them up here and do synthetic division. So essentially I'm dividing by x minus 1, if you remember from the previous section. So I can bring down the 3. 1 times 3 is 3. This sum is negative 14. So then if I put negative 14 up here, I get negative 12. And then if I do 1 times negative 12, I get negative 12, and that sum is negative 4. So you might have noticed that I did pause the video. I don't know if you saw that edit real quick, because I knew I had a little cheat sheet up here. I knew that 1 should have been an answer, and it wasn't. So I wanted to pause and kind of think about that. And then what I realized is right here, this should have said 13, and I wrote 17 instead. So let's fix that real quick. And actually, I'll just do a new one. That way we're not making a big old mess over here. So if I put 1 in the corner and I have 3, negative 13, 2, and 8, then let's see what actually happens. So we've got 3. 1 times 3 is 3. Negative 13 and 3 makes negative 10. 1 times negative 10 is negative 8. And 2 plus negative 8, sorry, this should be negative 10. Got ahead of myself. Whew. All right, when I add that, I get negative 8. And then 1 times negative 8 is negative 8. And then this sum is 0. Oh my gosh, it's magic. I got a factor. So remember, we can say that this is our depressed polynomial. So this is x to the 0, x to the first, and x to the second. So I can say that my function is equal to, and I have my divisor that I just used, which was x minus this number, so x minus 1, times this depressed polynomial, which is 3x squared, minus 10x minus 8, okay? So it said determine the rational roots, so I could continue trying to use, and technically we have 16 numbers up here. I could continue to try to find another one up there, or I could actually go and factor this. So I'm going to go ahead and factor this, but it's one that you may not have practiced in a while. So we're going to go ahead and practice this. So I'm going to show you the long way, and then I'm going to show you a shortcut, okay? So we're still going to do our big X, but because we have this 3 in front, we actually have to do what I call a hop, skip, and a jump. So to get this number on top, I have to do 3 times negative 8, which is negative 24. And then my middle term is just what I see in the middle, which is negative 10. So the question is, what multiplies to give me negative 24? That adds to give me negative 10. So hopefully, let's see, we've got something like negative 12 and positive 2, because they multiply to give me negative 24 and they add to give me negative 10. So I'm going to show you the long way first. So I'm going to take this negative 10x and I'm going to use these two numbers to add to give me negative 10. So I'm not going to worry about this for right now. So that means that we have 3x squared, then we have minus 12x, and then we have plus 2x, and then we have minus 8. So do you see that negative 12x and positive 2x add together to give me that negative 10x, okay? Then we're going to factor by grouping. So we're going to group these two together, and we're going to group these two together and see what happens. So in the first one, I have a factor of 3 in common, and I have an x in common. So 3x times what gives me 3x squared? So hopefully you said x. And 3x times what gives me negative 12x? And hopefully you're saying negative 4. Then in the next one, I have a 2 in common. So I'm going to factor out a positive 2. And 2 times what gives me 2x? So that would be x. And then 2 times what gives me negative 8? And that would be negative 4. And we know we did it right when the parentheses match. So because the parentheses match, we can actually factor these two out and say that we have x minus 4 times, and so now that it's factored out, I'm left with 3x plus 2. All right, and if you don't believe me, you could go ahead and FOIL it, and it'll show that you get 3x squared minus 10x plus 8. So the shortcut method says, now that I have this, I've got this 3 here, and the only way to get a 3 is to multiply 3 times 1, okay? So it's going to have a 3x and a 1x. So then over here, which one of these is divisible by 3? So that would be the negative 12. So we would say 3 times what gives me negative 12? And that's negative 4. Then the other term is 2, so we're going to say 1 times what gives me positive 2, and that would be positive 2. And notice we got exactly the same thing that we got doing it the long way. So we can now say that f of x is equal to x minus 1, our original divisor, times x minus 4 times 3x plus 2. So if it had asked for factors, we would be done, but it asked for roots. So we've got to go ahead and solve this. So we're saying, when is that equal to 0? So that's when x minus 1 is equal to 0, or x equal 1, which we found in the synthetic division. Then if we set x minus 4 equal to 0, we have another root when x is equal to 4. And then if we set 3x plus 2 equal to 0, we get 3x is equal to negative 2, which makes x equal to negative 2/3. And how do I know that there are no more zeros? And the way we know that is if we come back to the original function, the degree is 3, so that means that we have 3 complex roots, and I found all 3 of them, okay? Notice they're all rational because I can write them in the form of a fraction, where the numerator and the denominator are both integers. So I'm going to try to fit one more in on this video. So if we take a look at this next one, again, we want to list all possible rational roots, and then we want to determine the rational roots. So looking at this, there are 3 possible complex roots, but there's no guarantee that they're going to be rational. So this is my a sub n, so my q values are going to be plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 3, and plus or minus 6, because 1 times 6 is 6, and 2 times 3 is 6. Then here, my p-values always come from my constant, so 2 is plus or minus 1 and plus or minus 2. Because 2 is prime, it's only 1 and the number itself, okay? So my p over q's are going to be all the combinations of these p-values over these q-values. So if we start with 1, I get 1 over 1, and then I get 1 over 2, and then I get 1 over 3, and I get 1 over 6, okay? Then when I move on to 2, I get 2 over 1, and I get 2 over 2, but I already have that one, so I'm not going to repeat 2 over 2, which is 1. So then I have 2 over 3, and then I have 2 over 6, but 2 over 6 reduces to 1/3, and I already have that. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means that we now have 12 different possibilities, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to test some numbers. So I don't know, let's try negative 2. I don't know why I picked that. So 3, 2, 1, nothing. I'm in perfect descending order. So I have 6, 11, negative 3, and negative 2. And so that means I'm going to drop the 6. We get negative 12, negative 1, positive 2, negative 1, positive 2, and 0. Okay? So that means that I can say x minus negative 2 times my depressed polynomial is going to give it to me the equal to 0, sorry. So we got 6x squared minus x minus 1 is equal to 0, because any number to the 0 power is just 1. So I'm actually going to pause here because I don't want to run out of time in the middle of the problem. So this is where I'm going to start in part 2.